Welcome back once again to Notre Dame Day. I'm Gary Sieber, class of '81, and on the Notre Dame Day hotline with me now is defensive backs coach Todd Lyght, one of the exciting new assistant coaches for the Fighting Irish football team. Todd, of course, is a former star player for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. He won a national championship in '88, was drafted 5th overall in the NFL draft, and went on to win a Super Bowl with the St. Louis Rams. And thanks for being with us tonight on the show, Todd.
Oh, thank you for having me, Gary. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm recalling those glory days. So first, before we get to what you're doing right now, let's go back to 1988 if I can. And wow, what a team you guys had that year. And let's talk about Notre Dame Miami in '88. Probably one of the greatest games ever played at Notre Dame Stadium. What do you recall from that, Todd? I mean, do people still come up to you and ask you about that?
You know what? I mean, that was a very fierce, very competitive game. Miami was loaded with talent. Conversely, we had a lot of talent on our side of the ball, and just a fiercely competitive game, which I was thrilled to be a part of.
Well, do you and Pat Terrell still get together? I mean, Pat knocked the ball down, and if anybody who didn't recall, Miami went for a 2-point conversion at the end of that game. They could have just kicked an extra point and tried to tie it, but they went for it, and Pat knocked it down. What were your thoughts? What were you doing on that play?
Yeah, actually, Pat and I, we stay in close contact. Pat and I are really good friends. In the summertime, we get together and get the families out on Eagle Lake and take the kids boating. And so we really enjoy the summertime getting the families together. But, Pat, for me, was the best free safety I ever played with at the University of Notre Dame. A talented player. The guy I got an opportunity to play with professionally at the LA Rams. He went on to have a great career playing for teams like the Carolina Panthers and the Green Bay Packers. But, on that particular play, we knew at that exact moment that this was going to be played to decide the future of the program. And so, we were very confident in the call, and we just went out there and we executed at a very high level.
So let's fast forward then, Todd. You now are in the role of a coach, and which is more difficult, being a player or being a coach?
I think, I think being a coach is a little bit more difficult because you have just a little bit less control. As a player being on the field, you have a lot of control over what happens in certain situations with regards to, fundamentals, technique, and execution. But, as being a coach, you just have to get the guys prepared the best you can through the course of the week, give them all the information, just try to detail the offense and what they like to do conceptually on a down-to-down basis and by series. And, just give them the information, have them go out there and execute at a high level. And, I think that we're coming around as a young secondary.
Sure. You said something a minute ago as a player. You knew that play against Miami was going to determine the future of the program. So there are plays and then there are plays. And how do you get that across as a coach? Do you still encounter that today where you're on the sideline and you look out at what's going on and you know that this is one of those moments where your players have to rise up? How do you impress that on them?
Well, I think that the key for coaching young players is just to develop a very fierce level of competition with everything that they do with regards to their training and their fundamentals and their execution of technique. I think that as a coach, you want your guys to compete at a high level consistently, and therefore when they're in those situations, they'll know exactly what to do and how to react.
Yeah, Todd, tell us a little bit about you personally. A lot of people may not recall. You have a very interesting background. How did you come to Notre Dame?
I started my coaching career in Las Vegas at Bishop Gorman High School, coaching with Tony Sanchez. 2009, 2010, we won 2 state titles, 2 out of the first 6 consecutive state titles for Bishop Gorman. I think this past year they won the national championship, the mythical high school national championship. So that was a great, great achievement for the program. And from there, I went on to coach with Coach Kelly at the University of Oregon. I was a defensive intern, worked with the secondary. Did some quality control stuff. Our first year, we won the Rose Bowl and the Pac-12 championship. The second year at Oregon, we won the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, and we ended up leading the nation in interceptions. And then when Coach Kelly took the head coaching job at the Philadelphia Eagles, he brought me along as the assistant secondary coach.
Yeah, when you were a player, Todd, could you ever envision yourself being a coach? I mean, did that enter your mind at some point when you were a player, or were you like, nah, I'll never do that?
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I always loved the game of football. I mean, football has always been my first love. And, as a player, I thought about coaching several times. But when I got out of the game, I wanted to try a couple different things just to get away from the game. And, obviously the love of the game just brought me right back.
Sure, and you've seen things now, both from the college level as a player, and then NFL as a player, and now as a coach. When your players here at Notre Dame are talking to you, do they really want to bend your ear about your experiences, and what do you feel like you can bring to them that you wish that someone always had told you when you were a player?
Well, I think that the execution of technique is probably my biggest asset as a coach. Being a player and having played at a very high level for a long time and learning from some of the greatest coaches in the game, John Robinson, Chuck Knox, Bud Carson, Dick Vermeil, Peter Junta, coaches like that. Some of these coaches are in the Hall of Fame, and I can't forget Frank Gans. And so, all this information that I learned, I'm able to relay this to the young men that I'm working with now, and just trying to help them develop both on and off the field.
Sure. And Todd, defensive coordinator Brian Van Gorder is known for having a fairly complex defensive scheme. What's it been like for you trying to get used to his system, and how do you relay that to your players?
Oh, I really love his system because we're very multiple. Brian's system, we're multiple in the front, running a 4-3 scheme, and then, we flip out of that and we get into a 3-4 scheme. We run a lot of pressure. We run a lot of simulated pressure. We definitely have to keep the offense on its toes. I mean, nowadays, when I played, the game was more of a power physical game. Nowadays it's more of a speed edge perimeter game where it's kind of a chess match as far as getting guys lined up with tempo, being able to execute at a high level under duress. And so I really like that what we do. We really challenge the players both mentally and physically to learn a lot of information and be able to get out on the field and to execute.
Yeah, Todd, you had in the blue-gold game, it was kind of an odd setting because it wasn't in the stadium and with all the construction and so on, but a lot of very positive things happened. Your guys had a couple of picks. How'd you feel about your DB play during the blue-gold game?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought our execution was pretty good. I thought our level of intensity was pretty good. Obviously, we can get better in both of those areas. I think that, as a young secondary, we need to improve our attention to detail. I think our pre-snap readiness needs to get a little bit better, and our sense of urgency, consistently throughout play has to improve in order for us to become an elite secondary.
Yeah, and Todd, we should mention that you're on the road. You're not here right now, otherwise we'd be interviewing you here in person. You're on the recruiting trail. Where are you?
Yeah, right now I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. This morning we were in the great state of New Jersey. From there we went to Pennsylvania. Landed in Nashville tonight, and then we'll be recruiting the Nashville area, driving to Memphis, and then off to Fort Lauderdale, Southern Florida tomorrow.
Wow,
night.
Sounds like almost like a country music tour that you're on. You get on the bus, get on the plane, and go to the next town, huh?
Absolutely. There's some needs that we need to address. Obviously, we have a really young, talented team. I think that in order for us to get to that very, very, championship level that we want to play at, that we need to bring in some elite secondary players, guys that can really stuff the run and also, contain the wide receivers in the passing game and, be able to create turnovers and create short fields for the offense.
Well, nobody ever wants you to make predictions ahead of time, Todd, although everybody probably asks you. But what are you thinking about this coming fall? Got good feelings?
Yeah, I got really good feelings. I looked at the schedule, and obviously, we always play one of the toughest schedules in the country. And I love that about Notre Dame. I mean, because, we compete against everybody throughout the country, and, there's no layup on our schedule. And I think that's what makes the University of Notre Dame so special, because we compete at such a high level consistently. And I think that we're going to do really well. I know the offense, had a great spring. I know defensively, we need to improve, and I think that we can do that with our execution and also, bringing in personnel.
All right. Well, Todd Lyght, thanks very much for joining us out there and for helping us celebrate Notre Dame Day. We really appreciate it, and good luck on the recruiting trail. Bring back some good news for us here at Notre Dame. We appreciate it so much.